Hi, good morning, everyone. I know it's a weekend and you've chosen to join us today, so thank you very much for being part of our MTM programs. Square SQL had started this initiative a while ago where we decided, where as trainers and facilitators, we keep using clips from various movies in our trainings to teach leadership lessons. Why not do it as a separate program itself? So we've done over 15 different movies so far, and the count keeps going up. So we keep watching movies in the genre of, typically the ones inspired by true events. And we try to inspire ourselves by finding leadership lessons that can be learned from each of these movies. And if you wish to, go ahead and watch any of our old management through movie sessions, they're all up on our YouTube channel. This is an initiative sponsored by Square SQL. It is free of cost. Usually happens once in about 2 to 3 weeks. And thank you so much for all those who have been part of this journey for a while, and all those who are here for the first time. Over to you, Jim.
Thank you, Zoya, and I welcome all of you on behalf of Squared SQL Consulting. And few things before we start. We don't recommend, or neither do we do any review, nor do we promote any of the movies. But what we do is, as Zoya mentioned, we pick up a movie which is based on true events, and we look at that movie and what can we draw the reflections, what could be the management lessons we can learn from that movie. So that's the whole idea. What we'll do is we'll start off, we'll share the quick storyline of what the movie is all about. And today's movie is Everest. I have seen it multiple times. Once we look at the storyline, we also look at the reflections or the lessons, post which we can also have a Q&A. And if you wish to refer to the session or to this recording later on, it will be available on our YouTube channel by the name Jimmy Jain. Okay. So let me quickly move forward. And I must tell you, I'm not sure how many of you must have seen the movie, but every time I see the movie, I feel I'm watching it for the first time. Even though I know the outcome, but I still feel how things could have been done a little differently. How I wish that this time when I'm watching the scene, things would not happen the way they had happened earlier. So that's the kind of movie I'm talking about. So let's quickly look at the trailer, and do let me know if you can see the screen. If you can give me a thumbs up or just confirm by unmuting yourself. Or maybe it's right.
Yes, we can see a screen.
Perfect. I'm starting the trailer and then we'll move forward.
Take on. How you doing? I'm back. Doug Hanson. What do you do when you're not climbing, Doug?
I deliver the mail.
First mailman on Everest?
Hope so.
I like that.
I know there's a lot of mountaineering experience in this room. You wouldn't be here without it. But Everest is the most dangerous place on earth.
How's the weather?
It's good.
Wish I was with you.
We'll go climbing together next time. The three of us.
What about your wife?
Oh, she's been fine with it ever since we divorced.
If it isn't the mayor of base camp, sit down, man. Climatize.
Human beings simply aren't built to function at the cruising altitude of 747. Our bodies will be literally dying.
So the game is, can we get you up to the top, down to the bottom? Before that happens. It's suffering, man.
3 more days. The rest of your life, you'll be a guy that got to the top of Everest.
Nice. On the top of Everest, Charlie. Well, pick up, mate. We got a cloud coming up through the valley. It's a lot of.
Oh no. People stranded up there and storm is getting worse.
We got a problem. We're out of gas, Scott. Just go. No, I'm not leaving you behind. Come on.
Can you hear me? You've got to get moving. Anyone can make it. You can't.
Oh, yeah.
So you saw this, and if you see how the situation was, I mean, if you look at Everest, and if I may just show the screen again to you, there's a one in, you know, one of four mountaineers, are able to come back after scaling, and that's the kind of odds we are talking about here, right? Now, if you see this mighty mountain, a lot of people have made an attempt to walk up to the mountain. A lot of people have unfortunately perished, but still people continue to do so. And let's try and understand, what does it take? We have an interesting cast here, and it's currently streaming on Netflix. In case if you wish to have a watch, please go ahead. Now, the entire story moves around, how a set of mountaineers in one particular window got stuck, because that was the most, I would say, the weather during that window was the best weather. It was one of the most anticipated movies to come out in 2015, and it's based on two stories wherein actually eight climbers, lost their lives. Unfortunately, when I say eight, a couple of them came back and still couldn't make it. So five are still up, they lost their lives up there. Now, this is the original picture. Since it's based on a true story, this is the crew which actually went up. So if you can see in that purple jacket, is the gentleman called Rob Hall. He was the one who actually climbed the Mount Everest first and popularized the tourism of climbing the Mount Everest. And this is the entire gang. Unfortunately, so many of them couldn't make it. Now, on the left hand side, if you see, that is your climb to the Everest. Your base camp is about 17,600. Then you move from Khumbu Ice Fall. Then there's Camp 1, Camp 2. Then there's a Lhotse Face. Then Camp 3, Camp 4. Now, the moment you walk up from Camp 4, it's literally a death zone. Now, the question is, these are the characters of the movie, and they're all, real time. On the left hand side, you could see Rob Hall. Now, Rob Hall's wife. Now, when he started his journey, Rob Hall is from New Zealand. When he left New Zealand for Kathmandu, his wife was pregnant, and he promised that he'll come back by the time the baby is delivered. Now, on the next is, you see the lady Helen, who manages the entire base camp for Adventure Consultants. On your right, the one wearing the glares with marmot jacket is a gentleman by the name Beck. He is an experienced mountaineer, and he wanted his hand to reach the Mount Everest. Below him is a gentleman called Anatoly. Now, Anatoly, if you look at the movie and if you look at the whole story, was the one who actually helped a lot of climbers to come back. And as a result of that, he would save a couple of lives. Now, unfortunately, after he came back, he wanted to scale Annapurna and he died over there. Now, the lady here, the Japanese with the maroon cap, she had already climbed six summits, six different peaks in the world. And the moment she would have done the Mount Everest, she would have done summit all the 7 summits she would have done. She did it. And unfortunately, while returning, she couldn't make it. She couldn't come back. Now, on your extreme left bottom, you see a gentleman called Doug. Now, Doug is, it was his third attempt. And the reason why he came in there was the school where he teaches. He wanted to inspire those children that, yes, ordinary men can also do extraordinary things. And the gentleman above that in the blue jacket is Fisher, Scott Fisher. He was actually from the other company which used to take, which made the mountaineering popular. So to say, the business rivals of Rob Hall, and unfortunately, he couldn't also make it. Which means what we're talking about here is a journey which the odds of accomplishing this journey is slim, grim, but still people are motivated for it. It's the tallest peak in the world, and climbing it needs courage, strength, teamwork, and a lot of energy, both physical as well as mental. Now, movie delivers us a lot of lessons which we could really be useful for our lives and our business. And I'm going to, when I say these lessons, this is something the way we have understood. Doesn't mean that these are the only ones. So, what we'll encourage to you to do is, whenever you get to the opportunity to watch the movie, do reflect what could be your individual learnings from there. Right now, these are some of the pictures. So, lesson number one: even the experienced professionals fail. It's okay to fail. So many of us get into the trap that I've been doing this work for a long time. I'm an experienced professional. I have to succeed. It's okay because Rob Hall, he was the leader of the team. He was guiding, and unfortunately, he had to sacrifice his life when he tried to save others. Yeah, and in an organization, who's operating in a global market, it's considered that when we have to recruit the best industry for its growth. However, the best individual or the professional doesn't mean he or she will work. They could also fail. And the lesson here, the organization needs to take things, it's okay, take things slow, because experienced professional in an organization does not always guarantee your success. You need to invest a lot in them. You need to create the entire ecosystem or the culture, so to say, to ensure that whether the experienced or inexperienced, both are able to move forward. That's the first lesson which we could draw. The second is the most interesting one, and we could have various connotations around it. Always obey the rules and follow instructions. Have that discipline. Please remember that the rules, the guidelines which are created are also created with some wisdom behind them. Can we understand them? While a lot of us feel that, let's disregard the rules, but that doesn't mean that, you become indisciplined. Yeah. So there are obvious reasons for disregarding them. So one of the climbers, now here, this is what happened. Now, Doug, this was his third attempt, and he couldn't make it. And in fact, Rob Hall told him, mate, it's over. Let's go back from here. And he said, look, if I don't do this now, I will never be able to do this. So help me. And now, even though Rob Hall, being an experienced professional, he himself broke his own rules. And he let the guy climb, which cost both of them their lives. But it's not a bad thing to have an empathy, but always must obey the rules. And not sticking to it in an organization context can lead to a bad situation, and which is very difficult to build back. This can also have an impact on on your colleagues. This can also have an impact on your output. Lesson number 3, wait for the right time. Now, sometimes we take it on our ego that, I've started this, let me continue with this. It's okay. Giving up for temporary doesn't mean giving up forever. And there could be several reasons around that. This doesn't necessarily mean that you have to give up forever. When the weather conditions in the movie were turning bad, the team should have turned back and waited till the right time. However, there were people from 3 different contingents, and they were all wanting to climb at the same time. In fact, there was a group which said, you don't tell us, Rob Hall, when to start and when not to. We will summit at our own will. While Scott Fisher and Rob Hall teams actually did collaborate, however, they couldn't do it the way they should have done it. So when you go against the external conditions where you don't have the control, it may cause you bigger troubles. You will never get the second chance again. Maybe as an organization, when we look at our environment, are we aware of the market environment? Are we aware of the external factors? Sometimes I have seen, we are working on a project for a long time. We say, let this see the light. Well, is the atmosphere conducive at that point of time? Is the environment conducive for it to succeed? So it may take time, but it would surely deliver you better results than you would have before the external conditions were unfavorable. Fourth is, risks are inevitable. Define the purpose. Now, this is very, very important. Even though every climber is aware that it's a risk, but it's still a climber's dream. Many lose their lives climbing Everest every year. As I said earlier, only 1 out of 4 make it back. However, there is no glory than reaching the peak of the Everest. That is your why. I mean, ask yourself, what is your why? In fact, there is this scene in the movie where there's a magazine called Outsider, and the journalist is also accompanying the mountaineer. He's also a mountaineer himself. He was asking people, what's the reason why you want to climb? That's where Doug said that I want to inspire those children to, an ordinary man can also do extraordinary things, because sometimes he's a mailman, sometimes he's doing all sorts of carpenter, sometimes he's doing all sorts of odd jobs. The question to you is, whenever you are doing something, have you defined your purpose? Because that purpose is something which will drive you. If the purpose is not defined, your energy, your enthusiasm will not be the way it should be. Yeah. And now typically, if you see in Everest, each climber comes with their own why. So my submission to you is, what we can take away from this movie is, define your why in whatever you do. Now, teamwork is absolutely everything, and choose your team wisely. It's the most important thing, especially when there's a do or die situation. Now, unfortunately, when teams did collaborate between Rob Hall and Scott Fisher, the Sherpas didn't go well. The Sherpas are the people who will actually go first. They will set up the route and they will come back, whether it is tying up the ropes or the ladders. Now, here, between both the Sherpas of both the groups, there was some animosity, and they didn't do the task the way it was supposed to be done. Oxygen tanks and rope were expected to be delivered when the teams arrived for the climb. It was not delivered. That led to the setback. Now, which means what? Who are the people who are in your team? But once they are in the team, do you trust them completely? And vice versa. Are your team members those team members to whom you can actually trust them for your life? Because when you look at organizations, when we work there, it's about spending most of your wake up hours with them. They are the ones who define your performance. They are the one who define the meaning or probably the purpose of your life. Sometimes you end up reinventing what you wish to do when you work with them. And this to me is the most important factor. In fact, a lot of people do tell me, especially in my team, that I take a lot of time, when I have to onboard someone. But please understand, when I take time, I want to be absolutely sure, because once I trust someone, I just can't tomorrow say, okay, I don't trust you. Because to me, it becomes the most important thing, the backbone of the relationship. Okay. And that's where, and once somebody is on board, he or she stays with us forever. At least that's what I expect. Lesson number 6, always have a plan. And this is one of my favorite quotes. Failing to plan is planning to fail. Even though all the tour operators who actually took the tourists up, the climbers up to the mountain, they have been there a number of times, but they always had a plan. They never went to the Everest without a plan. Okay, so now ask yourself: do you plan whatever you do? Whether it's you're walking into a client meeting, or whether you're walking into a meeting with a colleague, or the day when you wake up in the morning, do you plan your day, or just let the day happen to you? So that could be another interesting lesson. Set parameters. Remember stop rule. Now, this stop rule is something which I created a video about 3 years ago, and I'm going to share that with you in this session. So what the stop rule says? Stop rule says that, well, I must know what is my non-negotiable limit and what is my flexible limit. And both of them were compromised in this expedition. Rob Hall and Scott Fisher, they did set a very clear parameter. That turnaround time is of 2 p.m. no matter what. However, they didn't follow it. And look what happened. Both of them are no more in this world. You will have to, and this is not about plan. This is about understanding that these are the rules which I have to follow. Otherwise, I'll get distracted. Now, what do I mean with this? Let's quickly watch this video. This is also available on the YouTube.
Hello there, I'm back with Jam with JB series, and today I'm going to talk about something called the stop rule. Now, stop rule is a very simple rule which can help you understand when do you say what is enough, or for that matter, when is that you should revise a decision. Ask yourself, can you create something which is a non-negotiable limit and something which is a flexible limit? Now, what do you mean by that? Think of something that if an X thing does not happen, you will not move forward. That becomes your non-negotiable limit. You will not negotiate on it. Or what you could do is you can think of an event, and if that event occurs, then probably you continue to move forward. For example, in 1996, unfortunately, 8 climbers lost their lives while scaling Mount Everest. Now, mountaineers follow a very simple stop rule. The first one is if they are not able to summit till 2 o'clock in the day, they will come back. And their flexible limit is if their heartbeat is still less than 150, they can continue to climb at 3 p.m. Unfortunately, both the rules were broken in 1996, and which resulted in a lot of fatalities. Ask yourself, how much is enough? Ask yourself when you should revise the decision. Thank you.
So that in the nutshell is the stop rule, that what is the non-negotiable limit and what is my flexible limit. Now, this is very interesting. Lesson number 8, especially in our lives. Be willing to leave someone behind. Now, what does that mean? It means that we must learn to walk away. Now, imagine if Rob Hall had told the dog that, look, it's fine. Let's go back. It's okay. We can always try it again. Maybe things would have been different. Maybe he would have been still alive. And this is not about leaving someone to die. It's about knowing when to walk away from people who don't support the plan or don't want to follow the parameters that have been set to get there. But there's no good in waiting for someone to come around when the rest of the group is on board with the plan and they're ready to follow. It's also unproductive to have someone who wants to hijack the plan and go at it his or her own way. Sometimes we have seen that in the organizations. People call it my way or the highway. And in the business world, that means you leave someone out who is going to hold you back or divert you from what you need to do. It's as simple as this, that if there are people around me who do not help me to fulfill what I wish to achieve in life, I think time for me to say, okay, thank you so much for being a part of my journey. But I think from here on, I'll take it forward. Surround yourself with people who support rather than distract you from your intent, from your goal, from your objective. Right? And there are so many times when a lot of us, out of the fear of harming the relationship, don't even do that, even though we want to, but we don't do it. So that's something which we must imbibe in ourselves. Well, lesson number 9, follow your instincts. Well, data is always good, but the thing about the instinct is that they do come from the experience. You realize in this movie, in this expedition, there were some people who said, well, we have seen, we know the weather is turning bad, we are going back. And that's how they survived. In fact, if you see as human beings, we have survived as species for so long using our instincts. Because you know instantly what is right and what is wrong. And some of the people who survived the Everest climb that year knew instinctively when to turn back or when to call it a day. There's no ego with the nature. In fact, there is this dialogue in the movie when there were 2 climbers were talking, and one of them said, it's always between us and the mountain, and in the end the mountain always wins. And Edmund Hillary said that when you climb a mountain, you don't conquer that mountain, you conquer yourself. But there are some people who are blinded by a single goal, when both instinct and the reason are probably telling them the opposite. So the second last, or the 10th lesson which I think we can learn from here is, don't be afraid to do it alone, to go alone. There are times when the group will say, well, screw the plan, forget the rules, let's do it other way. Well, there's another way to look at it. Yes, sometimes it may work. However, if everything above says don't, then don't cave to the group pressure and go counter to what you believe is right. I think I've seen this over a period of time. People do reach a stage wherein they take a stand. However, there are times when people just go by what others are doing. That fellow which I was talking about, Anatol Burki, he was a Russian climber he didn't cave into the pressure to climb beyond the turning point and increasingly hazardous conditions. He said, fine, I'm not going to go there. He stayed with the rules he had made for himself. And as a result, well, he could save himself and he could also save a couple of people. So it's okay. But and just take that step. You think you're alone, but you will realize that people will join you. You will realize that there are a lot of people out in the world just waiting for somebody to take that first step. And the moment you do that, you will realize there are others who want to join you. And the 11th lesson, the last one, which I would like to mention about from this movie, is perseverance is the key. No matter what, do not give up. Keep doing it. Keep trying. And no matter how horrible the circumstances you find yourself in, find a way to persevere. There's always a gem. Now, this isn't the floating the idea or, um, you know, there is no plan. Let me just continue with this. I'm negating the plan which I made up. It's not. But it's having that continuous attitude of never giving up. It's saying that even if your plan falls apart, you do not give up your goal. And what I always tell people is there are times when, based on the circumstances, we start compromising on our dream. Well, why can't we recreate those circumstances which can help you achieve your dream? And for that, it may take time, but do I have that wisdom at that point of time? Right? For example, in the movie, every good climber knows that getting to the top of the mountain, however, any mountain is an accomplishment, but Mount Everest is still Mount Everest. Yeah. So this is the summary of the 11 lessons which we just discussed. Quickly looking at them, experienced professional fails. It's okay to fail. Always obey the rules and follow instructions. Have that discipline in you. Wait for the right time. Giving up for temporary doesn't mean giving up forever. Risks are inevitable. Let's define the purpose. Teamwork, extremely important. Choose your team wisely. Always have a plan. Set parameters. Remember the stop rule. Be willing to leave someone behind. Learn to walk away. Follow your instincts. Don't be afraid to go it alone. And perseverance is the key. Now, this is something which I thought I'll share with you. And remember, you don't have to climb Mount Everest to understand these lessons or to put them into practice. They are pertinent across, and no matter what the situation you may find yourself in. Hopefully, that would involve sub-zero temperatures at 30,000 feet. So I'll probably stop here and just check. Any thoughts, comments, questions on what we've done so far? I can see there are some chats. Let me just go there. Everyone has their own reason. Absolutely. I mean, to each one of us, the Everest is different. To each one of us, what does that mean when we accomplish that particular goal of scaling that mountain? What does that mountain mean to each one of us is extremely important. Okay, Arvind says, did sunk cost fallacy play its part when on the character said, if I cannot do it, I will be never? Well, yes, if you think of it, Arvind, sunk cost fallacy, I think it did play. He said, I've already invested. This is my third attempt. Let me not give it up now. I'm so close to the Everest. And they were supposed to be back. They were supposed to finish the climb by 2 and back at the camp by 4 o'clock. But they could never make it. Yes, it does play its part.
And bias make them take a wrong decision.
Absolutely, but they don't realize. And that's why that's why it's called the bias.
Right.
Yeah. Cool. So, any other thoughts, comments, questions? Are we good?
I think identifying your stop was very important.
Yes, identifying that stop. That stop rule is extremely important. Yeah.
That's extremely important as to where you have to stop.
Yeah.
And it was lovely. I'm compelled to see the movie now.
Oh, I have seen it. That's what I was saying that in the beginning. I have seen it n number of times. As last evening also I saw it. I know Rob Hall will not make it, but I'm waiting. Can he not do this differently? Can he not do that? I mean, even though I know the outcome, but still the movie is so engrossing. That you feel that you feel so much. In fact, just to add a few more things. So when he was stuck, so Helen, the base camp manager, patched in Jane. Jane is the wife of Rob Hall. She was expecting a baby. And when they realized that's going to be a daughter, he said that, let's name the baby Sarah for me because I know I will not be able to make it back. And in the end, they also show that, the real-time Sarah, how old she is now. And so maybe, in the hindsight, if you see, things would have been different if they would have done some things differently. Rob Hall would have been alive.
And there's another movie called Vertical Limit.
Vertical Limits is also there. In fact, the author, the journalist who actually went on this expedition also wrote a book, Into the Thin Air, that has also been made into a movie.
Okay.
Good, thank you. Sorry, you're saying something, Arvind.
I was just saying that lots of visuals and lots of stills from this movie are similar to that of Vertical Limit.
Absolutely, absolutely. So thank you so much, everyone. Really appreciate you taking time out on a Saturday morning to be with us. Just a quick reminder: the recording will be available on our YouTube channel. The name is Jimmy Jain, and we feel free to revisit this recording there. Thank you so very much. Namaste. Have a lovely weekend. Bye for now.
Have a great day, everyone. Thank you for joining.